Talking to me? You talking to me? I'm smash your head!
If someone charges at you with a baseball bat, they're not looking to scare you. They're trying to cave your skull in. And if you don't know exactly how to respond in that moment, you're going to be taken out fast. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what to do if someone attacks you with a bat and the fastest way to shut down the threat before you end up in a coma or a coffin. Let's check it out. I've been teaching real-world self-defense for over 30 years, and I've seen what happens when people underestimate blunt force weapons like a baseball bat. This isn't some movie fight. It's fast, violent, and unforgiving. One swing can crush your skull, break your bones, or leave you in a coma. When someone swings a bat with intent, it's not just an attack. It's a deadly force situation, plain and simple. Now, if you want to learn more about baseball bat attacks, check out my book, Stand and Deliver. It covers the essential stance and baseball bat defense skills you need for real-world self-defense. I'll drop a link in the description down below if you'd like to check it out. And if you prefer video instruction, check out my video, Batter Up, that dives deep into real-world baseball bat attacks, how they happen, how to survive them, and how to shut them down fast. It's available for sale on my website at sammyfranco.com. And if you're a War Machine Elite member, it's now available to watch for free inside the members only section of this channel. And if you're not already a War Machine member, click the join button below to check out the different perks and membership options we have available. 3 important things you need to know. First, this video only covers one possible type of baseball bat attack. There are many variations depending on the situation. And if you want a complete tactical approach, again, check out my full-length video, Batter Up. Second, in this video, Tommy and I are using a real baseball bat. That's because I've been doing this for decades and I'm fully trained. But if you're training at home, never use a real bat. It's just too dangerous. Use a wiffle ball bat instead. And third, remember, a baseball bat is a deadly weapon. If you have a safe way to escape or de-escalate the situation, take it. Before getting into the actual techniques against a baseball bat attack, it's important to understand some of its strengths and its weaknesses. Now, the baseball bat is nothing like a tactical baton. It's nothing like an asp or a collie stick or even a tactical cane. This is a completely different animal. If this thing hits you one time, it's lights out. So you have to understand this is a completely different weapon. Now, one of the advantages when defending against a baseball bat attack is that it has to have chamber, meaning it has to be pulled back and loaded to cause damage. And when the swing comes, it's going to be telegraphic. So there's some advantage there. But again, it's a completely different animal, and if this thing hits you, it's lights out for good. So keep that in mind when we go over this video. When faced with a baseball bat attack, it's critical that you have a strategic and protective stance. Now, in my contemporary fighting arts system, I created the Bludgeon defense stance. Essentially, you want your feet shoulder width apart, your knees bent, and 50% of your weight on each leg. What you want to do is you want to sink down a bit and have your head tucked down. Your shoulders come up a bit, and you bring both hands to the sides of your temple. You're going to make fists. Your elbows are not going to flare out, they're going to be pointing down. This is what it looks like from a forward perspective. From the side view, same thing. This is our Bludgeon defense stance. Now, the objective of this stance is not to take a strike. You're not trying to sacrifice something in order to get in. This is just in case you screw up, or for example, you trip up, or you mistime his swing. It's always better to take it on the sides, the meaty part of your arms and your shoulders, your deltoid, as opposed to taking it on your skull or even your ribs. So this is what we call the Bludgeon defense stance. Now, using a Bludgeon defense stance that we have in contemporary fighting arts is only half of the solution. You have to have footwork that will allow you to close that distance gap as quickly as possible as he's swinging that arc. So you really have to move explosively, and that requires you to actually lunge and push off the balls of the feet to actually propel yourself quickly and efficiently. It's very important to work on footwork. Now, this lesson is already going to be at least 15 minutes, and I know most people have very limited attention spans. So I'm not going to go into footwork and go into drills on footwork. All I'm going to tell you is that you must have explosive footwork. You need to push off the balls of the feet and explode through that range of combat. You've got to close that distance gap as he swings with that bat. It's critical. So it's not just a stance. It's moving in and it's timing the entry at the right moment. The first thing that we need to cover is range and how it relates to when you're defending against a baseball bat attack. So Tommy and I are going to split apart. Tommy's in approximately what we call the neutral zone. This is the range where if Tommy swings with an arc, it's not going to make contact with me. So I'm outside of the arc of the swing. This is where you should de-escalate the situation. And I've talked about the de-escalation stance ad nauseum, but this is where you would try to diffuse the situation and try to avoid this from turning into a deadly force situation. So at this proximity, the neutral zone, my hands are up, I'm trying to diffuse, trying to calm him down. Now, once I get inside of this range, either if he closes in or I decide to engage, we're gonna assume the bludgeon defense stance. And I talked about the bludgeon defense stance earlier. So Tommy's gonna chamber, and what I have to do is I have to close this distance gap. Now, I have to close it before the arc of that swing makes full contact with me. This is basically Tommy chambered again. That's a zero pressure area. When the bat is held back, zero pressure, it doesn't pose a threat. But as he starts swinging incrementally, it goes 10, 20, 30, 40%, up to 100%, which is the impact point. Now, of course, we're dealing with a bludgeon, which is very heavy and relatively slow compared to a stick. After he swings and makes that point of contact, it has to go to a rechamber position. So then it goes, from here it goes 90, 80, 70, all the way back to zero pressure. So the zero pressure, Tommy, go back to the chamber. The zero pressure there, Tommy swings all the way back to the recoil position, back to zero pressure. And again, over here, this is the 100% impact point, which is obviously the most dangerous. So when it's time to move in on the baseball bat attacker, you must have rapid and efficient footwork. You need to close the distance gap between here and here as quickly as possible. Now, before I talked about the de-escalation stance that you would assume outside of the arc of the swing. When I move in, I need to assume our bludgeon defense stance. This is in case you screw up and that swing comes through, it will not become a deadly shot to the skull. You may take it on the shoulders, you may take it on the forearms, but that is the least of your concerns. So the bludgeon defense stance is more of a safety valve posture that you would assume. So as I move in, I'm gonna have my bludgeon defense stance, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lunge in, close the distance gap, and as that arm starts to swing, I'm gonna jam it. We use basically a reinforced mid-block, and we're going to stuff the actual arc of the swing. So when Tommy swings here, Tommy, you can swing a little bit more here. So here, I stuff it right here, I jam it with the reinforced mid-block, reach around, and I trap the limb. Tommy can move over here. You can also grab the end of the bat. Let me turn this way so they can see it. So if Tommy tried to pull the bat out, there's no way it's gonna come out because I'm holding the end of the bat. You can also hold on to his clothing to gain control. Now from this position, you're not gonna have the ability to do headbutts and knee strikes because you're not gonna have the leverage. This bat is more of a buffer between the two. This is where you can apply our Widowmaker methodology.
jam.
This is also a good moment to emphasize why we would never use something like a spiking elbow technique that some reality-based instructors teach. Could you imagine against a baseball bat attack, if you decide to move in with one of these babies, let me tell you what's going to happen to you. You're going to get obliterated. It's critical that you use blocking, standard mid blocks. The reinforced mid block is used to stuff that baseball bat attack swing. It's a hell of a lot safer and guaranteed that you're not going to be sent to Pluto in the process. When someone swings a baseball bat at your head, that's not a fight. It's a life and death moment. You don't get time to think, and you sure as hell don't get a second chance. Train for that moment now, because when it comes, you either shut it down or you go down. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.